stuff. So we're going to look at David Shurter, an SRA survivor. I thought you were going to do the claps. Yeah. Okay. David Shurter, SRA survivor. And this is a recent development for him as a person that openly speaks out against what he endured as a youth, which is satanic ritual abuse. That's what SRA stands for on this channel. And in general, that's what it stands for. SRA. Excuse me. And that's how I found him. I was doing research because I wanted to find out what satanic cults are there near me then. What instances of Satanism are there that I can find so that I can, be more aware. And I found a story on his blog about a murder, the the Oakland 4 or Oakland 7 or something like that. It was like a murder of a handful of teenagers out in Michigan and Oakland. And it was, in his words, a murder that was tied to his father. Like his father has ties to it. So that was how I found David Shurter. And I've been following him for about a year now. Tuning into his, actually about a year and a half roughly. I've been tuning in and out of his live streams and checking out his videos. And he's very, very well outspoken. And the cult has been going after him lately. Believe it or not, they go after satanic ritual abuse survivors because the cult is involved with the government and so on and so forth. And so, yeah, but because they've been targeting him over and over and over again, he's been in this weird back and forth where they're like basically gaslighting him into being like, okay, well, the law enforcement is responsible for addressing these things, so let me, give them the work that they're due to that they do. So the story we're about to get into is tied back to Gaza because these people all serve the same master. They're all a part of the same cult. I can guarantee you there's a good handful of IDF soldiers that actually are in this cult too. Because they're in it. Okay, so let's get into David Shurter.
The last week, how long have they been sending you pics of kids? It started last week. Everything is posted on my blog, except the pictures of the kids.
Yeah, so the tea is that the killers keep sending me pictures of kids. In his words, that's what they keep doing. And we're going to look at the evidence for that.
The last week, how long have they been sending you pics of kids? It started last week. Everything is posted on my blog, except the pictures of the kids. I won't post the pictures of the kids. You see that there's pictures there, but you won't see their faces. You won't see what the picture is. But my police have, because I just forwarded it to them. And then you go read the description. Go click on in the link in the description and go read that conversation. And he actually justifies why it's fucking okay to exploit fucking kids. But obviously it's okay because the fucking cops don't do shit. If you go and try and give it to them, tell them the information. Give them a fucking report. They give you bogus information. They kick the can down the road and send you to places that don't even fucking exist. And yet they're the ones that everyone is supposed to respect.
Yeah. So here's an email from one of the people he attempted to contact with this information. David, and this is William Price. It seems to us that you cannot read and that your mental delusions cause you to jump to conclusions. We checked out your blog and we weren't referring to your nephew. We said nothing about your nephew, but you have the screenshots that you love to say you have of our emails, but couldn't bother to go back and read our emails when talking about Eric, who is not your nephew. The child that was in those text messages we sent you of you him is 17-year-old Eric something from Pennsylvania. We CC'd his father and informed him of what's going on. The bathtub videos are inappropriate since you were talking about missing little boys from the 80s while you're naked and wet. Really? I didn't mean to read it like... Yeah, this guy is freaking weird. As well as saving a picture of little Noah that my client Cregan sent you. Please stop, David. Next time I won't be so nice. In the image I sent to you is 7-year-old Eric something, who is not your nephew, but rather a young boy you've been having an inappropriate online relationship with. William Prince, PI/ATP Harlan IA. That's Iowa. And this is the attachment of the kid, one of the kids, whose images have been sent to him. And this is a means to instigate, basically, him, to try to plant evidence on him. This is the receipt. Okay, so this is from David Shurter. This is BS, but needs to be investigated. William Price was threatening supporters yesterday just listening to my chat. These child killers need to be stopped before they hurt anyone else, and they keep sending me pics of... I'm sure my Shelby County, Iowa Sheriff Neil Gross and his captain Chad Butler are fine with this, so expect nothing but them defending these jerks. And I have no idea who this kid is, nor am I speaking to anyone online. It isn't like I hang on platforms that attract kids. That would be this group that does that. So, yeah. And then he wrote, and then Jordan responded, and then we're gonna read that email there. So these child killers are also aware. Shelby County, Iowa Sheriff, or is it Indiana? Is he saying Iowa? Is he saying Indiana? I don't remember. Is IA in Iowa? Okay. Sheriff Neil Gross and his captain Chad Butler aren't going to do crap. Oh, I think he meant to say they're not going to do anything as well. And here's an example of what happened in my chat with yesterday's live YouTube. So we're going to read his response, though, to the emails. No one is going to investigate anything, you idiot. You've alienated yourself from your law enforcement and community, you dirty attention-seeking liar. Okay, so here's the deal about David Shurter. About that dirty attention-seeking liar. He's been getting harassed openly by the sheriff's department there. Oh, I need to zoom out of this one. That's what it is. Okay, he's been getting harassed a lot by the cult out there, essentially, through the government and other people. And so basically they come into his house and they do whatever, and he has evidence of it. Yeah, they basically have been like outright stalking, harassing, and threatening him for some time now, as I have alluded to earlier. And so when he says attention seeking liar, what does someone do when they're being isolated by a group of people that are, and this is the thing, is that this is where the whole, I'm glad that BJ Investigates is mentioning this lately, but this is one of the symptoms of schizophrenia, is to think that the government is after you. So it's looking more like schizophrenia at this point, at least in the medical industry, is relatively made up, uh, apart from the actual disease of schizophrenia. They've come up with a new version of it. Schizophrenia 2.0. You're afraid of the government. So, yeah. Let's go on to the next little bit here. So this is an example of what was going on in his live stream. So William Price showed up and he said, "Sherilyn, wait until we have you like we have David." And somebody's in the chat as Diddy. Do you see that, Brad? You see Diddy's in the chat? He's saying hi, Billy. I mean, oh, you know what? Technically, yeah, William can be Bill. So he might be saying hi. Oh, that's awesome, dude. That's awesome. And it's funny, it's an interesting synchronicity, though, that this would happen within the last week, roughly, because I in a long time had not said anything towards freaking Not My Rabbit Hole, and I made a comment towards her, and I didn't even at her. And it's like, maybe she read my comment. I'm not saying she really did, but it's just an interesting synchronicity that, like, this happened around the same time. I have to go back and check the time frame, because maybe I'm just derping, and maybe I, like, glanced at what was going on and then, like, wrote my comment towards her, but I don't know, because I'm kind of out of the loop. Because he's getting harassed constantly. Like, it's like, can he really even keep up with it? I think they're trying to keep him so busy. That's the point. That he's not really being all that productive with his own life, right? So we're going to move on to the very last bit of evidence here tonight when it comes to this specific topic. And therefore, we're going to be leaving this podcast on a cliffhanger. Because all this comes right back around to the global cult and how we all basically need to be anarchists and, no masters, no slaves. So he's going to be mentioning something here about Johnny Goff. Gosh, if anybody knows about this murder, he's going to be ringing a bell, or kidnapping rather. Obviously it's probably a murder at this point. So Johnny Gosh is a very, very, very well-known true crime story about a young man who was like a paper boy or a milk boy or whatever, from the 70s or 80s. And he basically, just went off and did his thing in the morning like he usually would, or maybe it was a first-time job. I don't remember. But he basically went off to go do his morning paper route, and he basically didn't come back. And he was, according to what David Shurter says in this video, he was the first kid to be put on a milk carton. And so David Shurter here, and a satanic ritual abuse survivor, has some ties to that Johnny Gosch case. Let's take a listen.
Why things happened the way they did. Johnny Gosch gets abducted. Isn't it interesting that a child trafficking operation that's going on in Omaha, Nebraska suddenly gets equated with one of 3 boys that disappear in another state, in another town? Johnny Gosch was only one of 3. Eugene Martin usually gets talked about. They don't even talk about the Mark Allen case. So everything that's going on in Omaha, Nebraska gets equated with the Johnny Gosch case, despite the fact that Todd Beckett was there. He was, 13 years old when he was abducted from the old Mark. That never gets discussed. It's all about Johnny Gosch. And who abducted Johnny Gosch? Who was involved with Johnny Gosch? Michael Aquino. The very dude that's walking around on national television dressed as fucking Merlin. So people, if anyone wants to look into the Johnny Gosch case at the time, they look at Michael Aquino. He seems like an idiot on television with his little game that he was playing with Ted Gunderson, so it completely gets dismissed. And that's how it works. Then the situation comes up, and the whole Johnny Gosch case comes back up, because it's never really